My name is Jennifer, and I was diagnosed some 30 years ago with bipolar illness. I'd had 4 children in 4 years, and after my 4th baby I had a major depression, which we assumed was postpartum, but it was really severe. I couldn't look after my 2 youngest children, who were both babies. They had to go away, and that was in the spring, and in the fall I attempted suicide. And I did get some medication from the doctor, but it really didn't help. Now I had another baby, and when she was just a baby, I had to have 3 major surgeries within a few months, and so that meant 3 doses of anesthetic. I have learned since that anesthetic puts me into a manic spell. So I went into a big manic spell, but of course didn't know what it was. Went to my doctor and told him the symptoms, and he said, well, I think you'll need to talk to someone. And I went to a therapist, and he took my family history. In my family, there's alcoholism and suicide. And as soon as he saw that, he said to me, well, you're going to need a psychiatrist. Would you be prepared to see one? Because you're going to need medication. And I said, I'll do anything to get rid of these symptoms. I've got 5 little children under the age of 8, and I'm at home alone with them. My husband's gone all day, and I want to keep them safe. So I don't want to be having manic spells and doing irresponsible things. So I struggled on, and then our children left home, the youngest one left home, and we sold our house and downsized, went to an apartment, no kids at home. Life was a lot easier, and I felt a little better. But just as I was beginning to feel better, I still had the swings. I knew I was manic and depressed, it was still going on. By this time, the side effects of the meds was becoming more disruptive than the illness. I could sleep 14 hours a day sometimes. A good day I slept 10. So a typical day when I was in a depression was I would go to bed at 9, I would get up at 11 the next morning. I'd function for 2 or 3 hours, I'd have a 2-hour nap in the afternoon, then I'd drag about in a fog for the rest of the evening. So I was there, but not there. It wasn't much of a life. So I'd heard about True Hope because I live in Raymond, and I'd heard about its history being developed, but I kind of thought, oh, it's probably snake oil, it's probably hocus pocus. But the side effects were getting worse and worse. And then a couple of things happened. I had another bad spell, and I went in the psych ward again. And my doctor medicated me very well. This was in 2005. And then it medicated me highly, which I wanted. I wanted to get out quickly because my husband gets really fed up when I'm ill. And the meds, they just paralyzed me. I had iron bars all around here, I was in pain, and I was walking bent over like this, staggering along. And I found as I reduced the meds, it got better, but I was left with some side effects from it. That happened in September, and right through till the late winter, January, I was still walking lopsided. I'd got to the point that I couldn't get my food to my mouth. And my eldest granddaughter used to do a takeoff of Nana. She would go, this is Nana eating her food, because I'd always try to scrub stains off my front, where I'd spilt the food, and this sleeping, and I wasn't with it. My son used to say, oh, Mum's in mode simple. And mode simple meant that Mum's there, but she's not there, That was my life, mode simple. I was hearing more about True Hope, and then I met a lady who I had been in the psych ward with. And she had actually been iller than I was. She was a lady here from Raymond, and I know she'd been so bad that she spent time in the Clare's Home care centre recovering. After you come out the psych ward, you can go to Clare's Home if you need more time to recover. And I know she'd spent time in there, and she'd been iller than I was, less functional. And I went to a volunteer appreciation day, and there she was, working. I said, what are you doing here? She said, well, I'm working. I said, how come you're working? Tell me, what are you doing? She wasn't very willing to tell me at first. I pressed, and I said, how come you're working? I mean, you weren't well enough to work. You couldn't look after your family. Her mother did a lot of the raising of the kids. She said, I went on True Hope. I said, well, tell me about it. So she told me a little bit, and she had gone back and done a course at college and had this job, and she was working part-time, and eventually she got full-time. And I couldn't believe it because she'd been more ill than I had. Similar circumstance. She's younger than me. Similar circumstance. We used to meet in the psych ward, it was our meeting place. So then I was really thinking about it, and I thought, what have I got to lose? Interesting thing happened. I started the first 2 tablets on a Thursday. Friday I took 3, Saturday I took 4, Sunday I took 4. Sunday night we went out to dinner and I had a taco salad with the chips, dipped it in. Got home, I was lying in bed and I thought, I didn't spill anything. How come I ate a taco salad without spilling anything? I couldn't eat anything without spilling it. And then I realized the shake was gone. I hadn't cut down my meds, but I had just taken 4 of those tablets. There's something in them that my body must have needed all those years. I think that's true, particularly with my background, with the alcoholic and suicide background. And then I went on, I was very scared. I talked to True Hope. I had a counsellor the whole time, and she told me to take these 4 tablets and then phone her back on the Monday. And she said, okay, you can increase it a bit, but now you've got to start decreasing the meds. Oh, I'm scared to decrease the meds. Can't I take the True Hope and the meds? She said, well, no, you can't, because what you'll find is you'll get the symptoms back. You'll have, over-medicated. So I was really scared, so I didn't start reducing right away, but then I did. And I was very, very scared. I phoned in every 4th day, because every 4th day she gave me a schedule to reduce the meds, tiny, an 1/8 at a time, because I've been on meds for 30 years, so I had a lot to come off of. So I reduced them by an 1/8 at a time, and she told me how to do it, and cut them out and measure them, and at the same time increasing the EmPowerPlus. In the end, so I started on September the 13th last year, and I think I took my last dose of meds at the beginning of November. So it took me about 7-8 weeks to get off everything, and I was just feeling better and better. And so that did good. So all November I was doing good, but then I started to get a lot of changes in my personality. I started to feel again. So I had some anger at first, wasted life. And then I started to really feel emotions. I never grieved for my parents when they died. I started to grieve for them. Things that had happened I hadn't felt because I was asleep. So December and January and February were very emotional months while I sort of came to terms with my past. So I'm still a bit emotional, as you can see. Now I can feel. I act, I can feel, and nobody can believe me because I'm up and doing. I've got a lovely garden, which the only before I could ever have was flower pots, because I'd be so draggy I couldn't get out to water them. What's the point of having a garden? I'm up every morning, 6:30, I'm out watering my garden, looking after it, and everyone has admired all my flowers, and now I've got loads of tomatoes and strawberries and all sorts of things. First year. I've done so many things that I couldn't done before. I went cross-country skiing for the first time. I'd never had the energy to do that. And the best thing is I can relate to my grandchildren a lot better. I did used to be able to read to them, but then I had to go and take my nap. I couldn't stand their noise and their confusion. We had 14 grandchildren. And so now I'm alive again. My eldest granddaughter can't mimic me anymore because I don't do it anymore. I don't shake. So it's been wonderful.